Nationwide Arena for the first time in 9 days. The Columbus Blue Jackets return home to take on the Anaheim Ducks, the second and final meeting between these two teams this year. The Columbus Blue Jackets, of course, hoping to build on a 3-game winning streak, which has its roots in Canada. The Anaheim Ducks, on the other hand, coming off a tough loss to the New York Rangers, hoping to become the first NHL team to reach the 100-point mark. There will be a very familiar face wearing a Duck uniform tonight. We've got two extremely familiar faces wearing, I don't know what kind of uniforms up in the press box. Let's get up and find out. Jeff Rimmer and Jody Shelley. Hi, guys.
And thank you, Dave. Good evening, everybody. Well, the Blue Jackets tonight, Jody, will be looking to bring some of that road magic here to Nationwide. And looking and quite eager to make his presence felt is Boone Jenner, who will play his first game here on Nationwide ice since the 18th of December. Excuse me.
Yeah, Boone is back, and it's just great to see. The fans are excited. We're excited. His teammates are excited. He's going to find himself tonight on a line with Ryan Johansson. He's going to play the left side. Look at that. First shift back in the uniform on the road. Runs in the goaltender. I thought last game he was a half a step kind of behind things. Look for Boone to be an impact guy tonight. He is an impact guy with his work ethic. But look at these shots. He's taking just a little bit slow. That happens when you get back in the lineup. But his excitement is going to be a big part of tonight.
And he'll also play on the top line with Ryan Johansson and Cam Atkinson. That certainly will draw him into the fight tonight. Well, Jody, we talk about the Western sweep, and certainly the anchor of the blue line alongside David Savard was Jack Johnson, who was doing it in both ends of the ice.
You know what, Jeff? I spent last game between the benches, and you get a full appreciation of every player. But when you see Jack Johnson and the details of the game, he is exceptional. He's physical. Not only is he physical, but he's smart physical. Timing on hits, timing on when to pinch. He's a big, strong guy. He's built, I think, like a running back. Stocky, strong. And when he uses that big frame and those skills and those smarts, look out. He's an impact player. Eats up huge minutes for this Blue Jackets team.
As for the Anaheim Ducks, our first look tonight at a familiar face in a new uniform, as Dave Metzel points out. James Wisniewski back here at Nationwide in the colors of the Anaheim Ducks.
The Wiz is back. And, you know, he was a big part of this organization for a few years. He's an emotional guy. We knew when he got traded, he wasn't thrilled about it, but he's found a new home, which is the place he used to play in Anaheim. He's back with familiar faces. He's got visions of the Stanley Cup. Look out for Wiz in that big shot tonight. The Blue Jackets have got to put the shoulder into him.
Well, many of the so-called hockey experts are predicting Anaheim as a legitimate Stanley Cup finalist, if not Stanley Cup champion. And they have one of the best two offensive tandems in the National Hockey League. And, of course, we're speaking of Getzlaf and Perry.
Scary. 1-2 punch. These guys have chemistry that is just awesome. They've been together. They got drafted the same year. They came into the NHL the same year. They went down the minors their first year in the league. These guys have excelled. You think about the first year they came into the NHL, the leaders that they came in with. Niedermeyer, Solani, Pronger, Correa. They learned from there. The pedigree is great, and I'm telling you, below the goal line, I don't know how they find each other sometimes, but it's these plays in tight. Very good with the puck. Both have great hands, great shot. But I think the Blue Jackets have got to focus on them, keep them on the outside. You give them any time and space in the defensive zone, and look out, they're trouble.
Blue Jackets have won 4 straight against the Western Conference. They'll try to stretch that here tonight against this Anaheim Hockey Club, who are coming off a disappointing loss against the Rangers Sunday night. Embarrassing, in the words of their head coach, Bruce Boudreau. The game is next. Columbus Blue Jackets hockey on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by First Financial Bank. Another step on the path to success. By IGS Energy. Take control of your natural gas and energy costs and enroll today at IGSenergy.com. And by Nationwide. At Nationwide, we put members first. To find a local agent, visit Nationwide.com. Nationwide is on your side. It's a hockey night in Central Ohio, and here at Nationwide Arena, the Ducks and the Blue Jackets close out their brief season series. Sergei Bobrovsky back between the pipes, 6-1, 2.36 goals against average, a .929 save percentage in his last 7 games. And 200 feet away, John Gibson allowing 4 goals on 22 shots in relief of Frederik Andersen, who started that Sunday game against the Rangers, and he allowed 3 goals on the first 7 shots. Gibson, the future of this hockey club, starting for Anaheim this evening. Tim Peel, Greg Kimberly, the referees. Darren Gibbs, Steve Miller are the linesmen. The Ducks wearing their traveling lights, the Jackets in their home blues. It will be Foligno and Kessler set. The opening draw is won by Kessler, and we are underway. Jackets making a quick stop here at Nationwide tonight. 2 more games this weekend on the road as they conclude their Western Conference portion of their schedule in Chicago Friday night, on to St. Louis on Saturday. Puck carried in and across the line there by Valesky. Jackets come up with it. A left wing pass from center. Nick Foligno standing up, and right there against James Wisniewski. Those two looking eye to eye.
Yeah, nice to see that. Both teams change quick here. Jeff, 30 seconds in as that puck takes a weird bounce and fools Bobrovsky.
Here comes Atkinson. Atkinson to Johansson. Cruising on the left wing, Boone Jenner. Given an opportunity tonight, as we mentioned in the open. Playing alongside both Johansson and Atkinson. From the left wing boards, the puck sent wide of the net by Maroon. It's played near half the point. Boschman on to Corey Perry. Maroon. Here's Getzlaf. Ryan Getzlaf sends it to the point. The puck sent wide of the net. Wearing jersey number 47. Keep an eye on this youngster, Lindholm. Highly regarded by the Ducks. One of the best young defensemen they feel in the National Hockey League. Puck sent off the wall and to the Jackets line. Kevin Connaughton steps inside his own end. On to Cody Golobuff. A right wing feed for Scotty Hartnell, who right now is #1 in goals scored, Jody, in the month of March in all the NHL.
Lots of chemistry with Daniel Wenberg. We saw it. Now he's got another suite out there. Carlson makes his debut in his first shift for the Blue Jackets against his former team, the Ducks.
Bill Carlson, as he wants to be called. Wild Bill, called by his teammates. Dano squeezed out along the wall there by Stoner. Trop finishing a check on Silverberg on the far side. Puck picked up here in the corner. Stoner just drilled there. Corey Trop already credited with a couple of hits here in the early minutes. Right wing feed down that right side. The former Montreal Canadian stood up, acquired prior to the deadline, and we speak of Sekach. Backhanded there by Letestu, deep in the zone. Trop is there again. Jared Bull throws it into the slot alertly. The puck is played off the goal stick there of Gibson. He holds on. And how about the Toyota Keys presented by your Central Ohio Toyota dealers?
The Blue Jackets are facing one of the top, tied for the top team in the NHL, the Anaheim Ducks. Tonight it's got to be 60 minutes, no lulls. This team will feed on any lulls that the Blue Jackets have. Stand on the box. Did a nice job getting the victories in Canada, all 3 games, but far too many penalties. Pressure on the penalty kill. Can't have that tonight. And you got to have offensive zone pressure. That last attempt by Jared Bull, throw it in the paint, create those risky situations for the Anaheim Ducks.
Puck sent off the boards. Foligno tried to get a stick on it. Moved on that right wing there by Morin. Sent to the Jackets line. Foligno will toss it back. Prout for Fedor Tutin, who is now with the assist on the overtime game winner in Calgary. Tied with Nikolai Zherdev, 4th all-time on the Jackets points list. Here's Kessler, the former Vancouver Canuck. Deals it on the right wing, top of the circle. Wisniewski drills it wide of the net. My apologies, that is Palmieri, the right-handed shot on the far side. Picked up there by Kessler. On that right wing, Morin. Morin with a left wing pass for Foligno. Neither team has registered a shot on goal here as we approach the 4-minute mark. Puck played on the left wing, Bolesky. There is David Savard. Settles things down, deals it on the right wing. Across the line, Atkinson avoids a hit along the boards. Continues to pressure along the near wall. Boone Jenner gets laugh. Defending. Jenner on to Johansson. Johansson protects the puck, deals it off into the corner for Jenner, who can't trap it behind. Look at Jack Johnson again, as we talked in the open, stepping in off the point.
Timely. I mean, he plays penalty kill, power play, and hard 5-on-5 minutes. He's out there against that Getzlaf, Perry, and Maroon line right now.
They'll be matched up likely most of the evening. A spill there for Corey Perry, who's back on his feet. Drilled ahead and knocked to center ice. Savard on here to Johansson. Slows things down, shows patience. Right wing Dano stepping away from a hit from Getzlaf. Far side, a backhand pass tossed here to Getzlaf. Late in the shift for him. The Anaheim captain butted out of the air there on the right wing. Bolesky, good hand-eye coordination. Stepping up, Hartnell coming together right there at that Anaheim bench. Some pushing and shoving, but not much going to happen here. Or will it? Stoner stepping in. More than a peacemaker there, and has a few words for Scotty Hartnell. And Hartnell not going to back down whatsoever. So we're going to see some penalties called here.
Well, good job by Hartnell. He gets in there on Getzlaf, gives him a little shot after the whistle. Trying to make him a little uncomfortable, and Stoner, recognizing that, doesn't want his best player being taken advantage of or feel uncomfortable. And there's Stoner. He comes in on the picture. Hartnell's got no problem. Just drawing attention. Fans enjoy that. Get involved at home early. Nothing wrong with it.
4-13 as you get a look there at Coach Bruce. Call me Gabby Boudreau, one of the most personal coaches in the National Hockey League. Always has a lot to say, except Jody yesterday. All he would do was wave, and I normally get a chance to talk to him for quite some time. He was not happy with his club's performance in a 7-2 loss. He said it was supposed to be a battle of the top two teams in the league against the Rangers. He said we played like the 30th best in New York.
Well, his team has only lost 3 in a row one time this season, and you think about that. A sign of a great team is a team that doesn't lose those stretches in a row. And at one time this season, early March, just after the trade deadline, the Anaheim Ducks lost 3 in a row, and that was it. 5 in a row, or sorry, they lost 2 in a row 4 times. That's all this season. So they right the ship right after a loss.
Laid behind the net there by Vatanen. This is the first power play for Anaheim. They are 25th in the league at 16.4%. That is a surprise to me. They have some of the best talent in the league. And one of the reasons why they went out and got Wisniewski in a trade at the deadline, they're looking to improve their power play. Now, that power play was 2 for 4 against the Jackets in the first meeting back in Anaheim in October.
Well, the Blue Jackets have done a nice job on the penalty kill, obviously. But, yeah, you would think the Ducks, with this clientele, they match up so well. Watch this little play by Jack Johnson here coming into the zone. Exactly what they have to do on this guy. This is Ryan Getzlaf, just wants to tee it up and get it on net. Jack Johnson alertly gets over there, deflects it out of play. Have to take away time and space.
Minute 15 left of the power play. The Jackets have got to, number one, show that discipline, but number two, be strong on the penalty kill. They've allowed 16 opposition power play goals in the previous 11 games. And that is un-Blue Jacket light. Right wing, hammered in, a little high there on Bobrovsky. Puck gets away from Savard. Palmieri tried to walk to the net, and the puck was gloved ahead, so play is whistled down.
Good job there in the defensive zone again. I like this, the way this game sets up. Sure, the Blue Jackets are on the penalty kill to start here early. No shots on net early. Jackets have 2, Anaheim has none. But it's kind of choppy. You're talking about a team that's coming off a tough loss. You said the coach was grouchy yesterday. Frustration, keep it at this level, could set in early for the Anaheim Ducks.
Raquel will step in, wins the draw along the wall. Lindholm dumps in, far side. Ducks in pursuit. Tootin holding off Anaheim deep on that far corner. Kessler to the goal line. Palmieri had it poke checked away, alertly so there by Tootin. Tootin throws down the Anaheim forward. Here's Kessler from a sharp angle. Bobrovsky able to make the stop. Thrown back in high and out. Lindholm. He's got some size, boy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Swede.
He's a big boy, 6'3", standing there on the blue line for the Ducks.
21 years old. He is a plus 52 to lead the entire National Hockey League over the last 2 years. Scramble in front, a shot and a goal. Anaheim on the power play with 3 seconds left in the Hartnell penalty, and the Ducks take the 1-0 lead.
Well, Paul Murray is right in front of the net there. There's a lot of chaos in front of Bobrovsky. Watch 21. He's doing a great job in front. Little scramble. And watch who comes in after. That's Kessler. Cleans up the garbage. You can see how much they pound the net. After the puck goes in there initially, they're down looking for that puck. Sergei's on his back. Not much of a chance there with that rebound going the opposite direction.
19th goal of the year. Excuse me, Jody. 19th of the year for Kessler. His 5th power play goal for the former Ohio State Buckeye. And play is called. So a power play goal by Kessler. Again, his 19th of the season. Anaheim with the early lead.
Anaheim with a power play goal scored by Ryan Kessler. 2003 draft pick. He was picked 23rd overall. These two guys were also picked in that draft. The man on your left, Corey Perry, was picked 28th overall. Getzlaf, 19th overall. Boy, these guys sure have panned out. They've won a Stanley Cup in 2007. Both have won gold medals in the Olympics. And that draft, 2003, the Jackets took Nikolai Jaradev, 4th overall, right behind Horton, who went 3rd.
So the goal by Kessler, assisted by Raquel and Boschman. Thompson trying to throw it in front. Good defensive work there as the Jackets clear. Goluboff able to send it back out. Wisniewski hammers back in. James Wisniewski wearing number 20. Backhanded attempt there by Thompson. Jackets able to play it. Dupre, the former Pittsburgh Penguin, also acquired prior to the deadline. Back in the lineup, he was a healthy scratch on Sunday in New York. Jeremy Morin. Morin on to Letestu. Poised and ready there was Jack Johnson. Now Johnson will let one fly. Saved by Gibson. From the corner, Morin. On for David Savard. Quick shot, stick to side by Gibson. Artem Anisimov, who has played superbly for the Jackets here of late. Anisimov, 6 points in his last 7 games. 2 of them are goals, riding a 2-game point scoring streak. He got the tying goal for the Jackets in Calgary.
And has really settled in. It seems to be going to the dirty areas, taking hits, making plays. You see him here stealing pucks. One of the things he's great at.
Foligno around the net. Quick shot, Savard off the pad. Gibson never saw it. Morin set the screen, but it went right off the pad of Gibson as we approach the 8-minute mark. Savard again dishes it off into the corner. Savard had it knocked away by Fleischmann. Down the left wing. Jackets finish the check. It was Savard. And Fleischmann walks in. He too acquired from Florida prior to the deadline. But another penalty upcoming here. This one for hooking. And the Ducks, who as I mentioned earlier went 2 for 4 in Anaheim, are going back to the power play here.
Columbus penalty number 42. 2 minutes hooking.
Anisimov tried to just pick the pocket on the back check. And his stick gets caught here in that hook position. You see how that toe is up? Gets caught right on the hands. He actually lets go of the stick, tries to get it out of there, but not in time to fool the ref. We made that easy hooking call here. Blue Jackets, one of the keys, stay out of the box, and this is too early for 2 power plays for the Anaheim Ducks.
Anaheim 1 for 1, 2 shots. The power play goal by Kessler. And they're back with the extra man again. Wisniewski in off the point. Here's Getzlaf. Looks to the right side. Quick shot. Save there, Bobrovsky. Getzlaf able to save it at that right point. Anaheim captain dishes on the right wing. Wisniewski, right-handed shot on the left side. This is the reason why he was acquired at the deadline. Getting it ahead here to Getzlaf. Getzlaf looks cross ice. Quick move into the middle, and it just sent wide of the net. Getzlaf tosses back in front. Corey Perry unable to get a stick on it. Short-handed. Johansson hands it ahead here for Boone Jenner. Late in the shift for him. He'll dart off to the bench. Jackets get fresh legs.
Good job there by the Jackets, cleaning up in front of Bobrovsky after that quick strike below the goal line by Getzlaf and Perry.
Maroon deals it to the right wing boards. Waiting here is Boschman. He too can fire the biscuit. Tosses to the point. Getzlaf. Vatanen. Vatanen with a goal and an assist against the Jackets in the first meeting. Quick shot, save, and holding on there. And the Jackets take exception to Corey Perry with that little extra stick after the whistle. Well, just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's contest. It's brought to you by Miller Lite.
There's a look at Ryan Kesler, the goal scorer for the Anaheim Ducks. Big part of the Vancouver Canucks, ends up here in Anaheim, and he's played every game this season. He's stayed healthy, and he's a good, great second-line center for this Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah, how good is it to have Getzlaf and Kesler 1-2?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Up high. Here's Palmieri with a shot. That one is deflected and out of play. 10:45 left, 42 seconds in the Anisimov penalty.
And there's Kesler. He's a big boy, 6'2". He's already played 729 games in the National Hockey League. Wow, a young guy. But he's gritty in the face. He's got that bite to his game that a lot of teams look for. And you said it, to have him on that second line center position was a nice little touch.
Now, while we get a break in the action, let's check out tonight's Elk and Elk injury report, Jody.
Well, we know Tim Jackman. He's been in and out of the lineup this year for the Ducks. Big, strong guy. And the Blue Jackets, Rene Bourque is on there now. Ryan Murray, I feel bad for Ryan Murray. He's been on that list more than on the ice yet this year. And a few other guys hopefully we'll see before the end of the season. But a couple guys we know have been shut down. David Clarkson, Jack Skilly being two of them.
From the corner, Ryan Kesler, up high Lindholm, right back to Kesler. Kesler works it to the goal line, across the goal mouth, and a shot deflected over top of the net. Boschman can't believe it. He was looking top shelf as he pinched in off the point. But the Jackets were able to redirect it. Bobrovsky got just enough of it to send it high.
As that second power play unit, with this attempt on net, heads off the ice. The first one comes on. A lot of options on these units. Good play there.
Right off his blocker. And up. 9:40 gone. Final seconds, down to 15 in the Anisimov penalty. Johansson was up high, almost able to knock it free. He's already got 2 shorthanded goals in the year. Thrown in front, there's a shot fought off there by Bobrovsky again. Wisniewski waiting in the near circle. He was looking high glove side. Johansson, 2 shorthanded goals in the year. Moving in, turned around by Dupre, and he's headed off with a holding penalty. And the Jackets will get their first power play when we come back. Dupre headed to the box. Anaheim now 1 for 2. Jackets kill that one off, and they will be on the power play when we come back. A TV timeout here in this first period. The Blue Jackets paid tribute to their former player, James Wisniewski. A little video package on the big scoreboard.
You see that big shot, James Wisniewski? Obviously a physical player. We knew that. And it seemed like as he spent more time here, he found a way to get... there was a quick little wave. See that?
Yeah, he certainly acknowledged it. Fans gave him a pretty good hand. Jackets are on the power play here, Jody. Their first of the evening. Dupre off for holding. Jackets, right now, the hottest power play in all the National Hockey League since the 6th of March. They're 31.8%. They sit tied for 5th tonight. They have 7 power play goals in their last 18 opportunities. On the flip side, the penalty kill, these Ducks are 18th at 81%, but they have scored 9 shorthanded goals, and that's tied for first in all the NHL. So the Jackets are looking at a very aggressive penalty kill. 9 shorthanded goals. Wow.
Well, they've got Getzlaf out there killing penalties and some offensive-minded defensemen. There's Boschman. That'll be a couple reasons why they're so offensive-minded on the penalty kill.
9 goals in total. They're able to swing it around the wall and out to center ice. Kevin Connauton back into his own zone. Almost the goaltender Bobrovsky. Pressure coming there. That's the aggressiveness we talk of. Getzlaf moving up. There's Johansson sliding it across for Foligno. Darts down that left side. Nick Foligno looks, rims it around the ball. It comes all the way back to here. David Savard. On for Ryan Johansson, riding a 4-game point scoring streak. Savard. Jack Johnson stepping up. Savard back for Johansson. Lets one fly. Is blocked in front and then cleared by Cogliano. All the way back in the Jackets territory. 40 seconds remain.
Yeah, Cogliano took a pretty big hit from Johansson as he cleared that and stayed with it. Got it all the way down the ice.
Foligno across the line. Could not get it by the defender there. Deep in the zone. Jackets will look to march out. Jack Johnson. Less than 20 seconds left. Speeds through the neutral. zone on here to Johansson. Right back for Jack Johnson to the point. No, cut off there by Johansson. Far side of the ice, looking up high. Foligno away from Wisniewski, drops it back. Nobody there, and that will do it for the Jackets' first power play. Foligno clears the zone. Jackets dump in. The fresh legs on. Myers crossed there. Nobody at that point as it was fed back. And now Anaheim march out of their own end. Here's Corey Perry, right-handed shot on the left wing. Looks cross-ice, good active stick there. And it was Carlson, the former Duck, playing his 19th NHL game, the previous 18 all here with Anaheim. Called up in the absence of yet another injured Blue Jacket. And that's Rennie Bork, who has been red hot. 4 goals in 8 games as a Blue Jacket. He too coming over in that trade for Wisniewski. 7 minutes, 15 seconds remain. Right wing, shoveled out to center. Moved by Lindholm to the Jackets line. The stick was dropped there by Maroon, the forward. It was broken, unlike Abdelkader, who scored the game-winning goal in overtime Sunday with a broken stick. At the line, Kessler. Bolesky fires high on that stick side. Corey Trott takes a hit, but is able to make the clearing pass. Dupre steps up. Floats one off the mark. A little high there, I'd say. Far side, Connaughton is hit by Bolesky. Able to clear it out of the zone. Kessler. And play is called. Offside with 6:35 left.
Before the Jackets hit the ice, get ready to join the battle on Blue Jackets Live. It's right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Blue Jackets Live, brought to you as always by your Central Ohio Toyota dealers.
Corey Trott does a great job on the forecheck for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Gets in there with speed. You can see the Anaheim Ducks really go after the defenseman, and it's quick. As soon as the defensemen get that puck and turn up ice, they're finding the contact of the Anaheim Ducks. They've got to speed things up in the defensive zone to get that puck moving forward.
Tagliano sends it in. It'll be held up there. And there's been a change on the first goal. Still, it's Kessler's goal. Raquel gets the first assist. And the second assist goes to number 21, Palmieri, as you get a look there at James Wisniewski. And, Jody, I wanted to talk about Wisniewski and the fact that, we talk in terms of this Anaheim power play, and they're nowhere near where they want to be. 25th out of 30 teams. Yet here's a team that's been destined by many NHL experts as a team that could go a long way in the playoffs. But how important is that power play come playoff time?
Oh, it's huge, and that's a new season. But it's crucial. Any advantage you get in the power play or in the playoffs, you have to take advantage of it.
Exactly.
Take advantage of the advantage.
No question. That's good. That's
so
fair.
The opportunity is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I think it's a good point, and that's what the trade deadline is for. These teams that are the upper echelon see themselves as doing great things all season. But what do we need to tinker, not change, tinker, to take us to that next level? And where there's areas of improvement, well, if you think the Ducks, it's the power play, then go get a right-handed shot defenseman who can shoot the puck and control that power play.
Yeah, specialty teams become awfully important come playoff time. The Jackets certainly witnessed that last year. Jenner got a stick on it, but sent it over top of the net. The bottom line, Bob Murray, the general manager, who is here tonight, sitting just a couple of boxes down from us, feels that Wisniewski could be that missing link there as Gibson comes up with the stop, and we will step aside. 5:48 left, opening period. A power play goal by Kessler. The difference here in power play 1.
Where the Ducks lead at 1-0 with Kevin Connaughton. Kevin, assess this first period so far from your perspective.
We just want to keep playing quick and stay out of the box, and our power play, we got to make sure we capitalize when we get the chances.
You know that Anaheim brings both a combination of physical play and obviously they're very lethal offensively. How do you defend against that, Kev?
Just got to play hard against all 4 of their lines and all their D. And, we'd rather be in their zone, so we're just focusing on moving pucks up quick and getting them deep.
Kevin, thanks for this.
Thanks.
Set for the face-off.
I like what Kevin said there, all 4 lines. Crucial that the 4th line for the Blue Jackets matches up against the Anaheim 4th line. I think they've had a nice presence here to start this game.
Jackets have out-hit visiting Anaheim 7-2. Corey Trott, who had 2 hits on his first shift, credited with 3 of those 7 hits.
That's good to see.
Goluboff waits at the point, but Cogliano, who's got some great speed, the Iron Man here in the National Hockey League presently, gets around the defense and scores! Cogliano from the faceoff, marching down the ice, walks around the Jackets defense and beats Bobrovsky. It's 2-0 Anaheim.
Well, you don't see this very often in the National Hockey League, but it's speed, and he cuts to his backhand here, Jeff, and watch what he does. Drops that shoulder, and just a delicate little chip shot. And that gets in between Sergei Bobrovsky's glove and the post. And you look at him, his feet are moving the whole way. And as he gets in there, he sees an opportunity to get that puck on net. And he's happy with that as it beats the goaltender Bobrovsky.
Underrated player. That's his 13th goal. The Oilers disappointed. They dealt him away a few years back. We saw evidence of that tremendous speed he has and a great individual effort. And Cogliano makes it a 2-0 game with his 13th goal of the year. Thompson, who won the draw, gets the lone assist. The former Tampa Lightning centerman connects for that assist. Cogliano again with the 13th.
Columbus Blue Jackets hockey is brought to you by Nationwide. Nationwide is the official sponsor of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Hey, you were talking about that speed as he picked up the puck. Yeah, almost coast to coast as it was a defensive zone draw, but you could see him build that speed, take it wide, and then just kind of throw it on net. And usually that's just a play to keep things alive, but boy, displayed some good skill there and speed. And you talk about Nate Thompson, that guy's a warrior. He's a guy that battles, wins draws, blocks shots. Does it very well. And that was a crucial draw in the defensive zone that picked up a nice assist on. That doesn't happen very often.
Approaching the 15-minute mark. Anaheim have connected for 2 goals on 7 shots here. Following up on the Kessler power play goal. Cogliano. And Palmieri drops Marco Dano, who gets back. Scotty Hartnell having a word with the referee saying, hey, what's that all about? Now talking to both officials as Dano's still drawing the attention of visiting Anaheim.
Well, he just held his ground there right on the post. And then 2 Anaheim Ducks came in and gave, there he is. Oh, a good little whack actually over Dupre.
In the earlier scrum that cost Hartnell the lone penalty, this time it should cost Anaheim just 1 penalty because the Jackets, Dano really, he was on the receiving end.
Looks like the referees agree with you, Jeff. He's going to the box.
Palmieri off for cross-checking. 15:08, so the Jackets will get their second power play in succession. Jackets did not register a shot on the first manpower advantage.
They're going to put some time back up on the clock here. It was just an attempt at a face-off. Johansson gets kicked out. Nick Foligno steps in here.
Just that clock before we see the resumption of play.
Yeah, you can see a second off the... There, it's back to 2 minutes power play. Good eye, David Savard.
Every second counts, huh?
Absolutely.
David Savard can't briefly behind Bobrovsky. Key power play here. Foligno flips the backhand. Up the left wing boards, gets away from Hartnell. Foligno is there. Tosses it behind the net. Johansson up high here for Jack Johnson. Johnson, Johansson in front, shoots and scores. Scotty Hartnell on the power play. His 9th, and again he leads the National Hockey League in goals in the month of March. He continues red hot.
Well, great plays here by Ryan Johansson, Nick Foligno, Scotty Hartnell. Watch this play. I didn't know where to go. Foligno's in front. He comes into your picture right there. Hartnell wants that puck. But Johansson, fake shot. The goaltender thinks he's going to shoot it right there instead. Johansson finds that seam. Wow, what a play.
23rd of the year for Scotty Hartnell. And for Hartnell, that saw in Calgary, a 6-game point scoring streak snapped, but still 8 points in the last 8 games, including tonight. 7 of them are goals. Those 9 goals have come in the last 11 games here in the month of March to lead all NHL goal scorers. And I guess we could say he's made up for that penalty he took earlier on this period. Less than 4 minutes remain. Backhanded, gets laugh for Maroon. Right wing, Corey Perry. Holding the line there was Lindholm. 3:42 left. Right wing feed picked off by Getzlaf. Getzlaf, a backhand, no-look pass. Moving in, a shot off Bobrovsky. Played on the right wing boards, but the steal made by the Jackets forward and Isima. A centering pass, backhanded. Bobrovsky getting the blocker on it. Johansson and Jack Johnson draw the assist on the Hartwell goal, his 23rd. He's now tied with Johansson, and he trails only Nick Foligno by 2. Up high, wrist shot. Gets through, Bobrovsky the stop, no further play.
Quite a shift by the Anaheim Ducks in response to the goal by the Columbus Blue Jackets. All in the offensive zone for the Ducks. A lot of pressure on Sergei Bobrovsky. We talk about the shift after a goal, the importance of keeping it together, trying to keep that momentum. You see the guys trying to box out in front, but really Sergei Bobrovsky, he's got a battle there. Keep that puck and freeze it.
Quick shot, rebound. Knocked out of the air there by the Jackets with a high stick, but Anaheim plays, so we see play continue. Goluboff deals it on the right wing, played up high by the Ducks. Chopped ahead, sent wide of the net. Ducks dump it back below that goal line. Anisimov defending, 2:40 left. This is Sekach. Along the wall, the former Montreal Canadian acquired in a trade prior to the deadline. Montreal is really high on Sekach earlier on this season. And in particular, Rick Dudley, the assistant general manager, but for whatever reason, fell out of favor with Therrien, the coach, and ended up being dealt to Anaheim. Now there's Ryan Johansson, who extends a point-scoring streak to 5 games, his 4th assist and 5th point. But Jody, that is his 62nd point of the season, and that's most in all the National Hockey League by a player 22 years or younger. And that's quite an accomplishment for Ryan Johansson. He certainly has room to grow, and the Jackets are looking for that, but quite a testament to Johansson. 62 points in the year. The most by any player in the National Hockey League 22 years or younger.
Yeah, he's young in his career. Promising career. Mark Letestu, or is that Savard might be going to the box here. He got tangled up.
Francois Beauchemin had a word for him, but Savard's headed off, and this will represent the 3rd power play for Anaheim.
The charging penalty.
Sorry.
Fans aren't very happy with that. As you mentioned, it's been a busy period for the Blue Jackets penalty killer. Here's 58 coming on the right side of your screen. Kind of gets up a little high there. No damage done on the head. He might have got up to take a little heat off. Took too many strides, maybe. That jump at the end, that's an easy call there, Jeff, when he jumps that high.
Bottom line, Anaheim on the power play for the 3rd time. And here's another penalty. Jackets meantime. Johansson fires. That went off the crossbar and out of play. Jackets on a 2-on-1. Johansson slowed it down, showed patience, and then sent it right off the iron. And that will nullify the power play there as James Wisniewski is headed off.
Well, interception by Johansson as the puck was headed towards Wisniewski. And watch this here. Deception. What a shot by Ryan Johansson. There's the hook as Wisniewski's going down. 2-on-1. And Ryan Johansson has a move on the penalty shot where he keeps the puck on the forehand. He did that and fake shot on the assist he got on the Hartnell goal. And right there, goaltender gets a little antsy when he doesn't know. You're not showing if you're going to shoot or not. Deception is a big part of his game.
Do you think that the Anaheim Ducks coaching staff show the goaltender in particular videos of Johansson just to prepare?
Well, it's been done for for shootouts. I know that goalies study shooters for shootouts. That's for sure. We've seen that done. But maybe goalies take it upon themselves to look at some of the dangerous players in the opposition.
Interesting. I asked that question because Boone Jenner was telling us in Calgary prior to the game on Saturday that what did he do while sitting out since December? He watched a lot of video, he said, looking to improve his game when he came back. How about that?
What a student.
4-on-4 hockey. Little more than a minute left. Across the line. The shot sails wide of Sergei Bobrovsky and ricochets all the way back up high. Kessler sends it in. Less than a minute to go. Jackets walk it out. Right wing. This is the aforementioned Jenner trying to fire it in front. And Gibson making the initial stop. Jackets really didn't get enough on that rebound. And here's Connaughton. He'll try now. Connaughton circling the net, using that speed and size that he possesses. Silverberg up high. Connaughton back at the point. Connaughton. Jackets playing the puck over to Jenner. Connaughton will let one fly. Blocked up high. Getzlaf, who slips and falls. Jackets trying to get to it. Gibson will hold on. 26.2 seconds remaining. And how about Boone Jenner right there?
I like how he takes his puck to the net. He's at a tough angle. He's got to muscle that stick to get the puck there. And you see he's got a player in front. Looks like Jack Johnson almost on the rebound. Anaheim did a great job of keeping that rebound out of trouble. Well, good job by Boone Jenner. I love that mindset. When you turn that corner and you decide you're going to the net, take it to the net, make sure it gets there.
You saw Cogliano do it earlier on this period, all by himself.
With a little more finesse, and Boone does it. If there's someone in his way, Boone's just going to go over. I love that about Boone. We all do.
26.2 seconds remain. We remain 4-on-4. Jackets will have a brief power play. I mean brief. Nonetheless, Johansson wins the faceoff. Tooten, cross ice. Toss behind the net. Johansson is on the faceoff circle. Cycles out of the corner, deals it to Tooten, drills it wide. Johansson picks it up off that backboard. Final 10 seconds. Up high, Dalton Crouch shot is blocked. Corey Perry. There's Atkinson. Moved in front, Lindholm out. And there's the horn to end. An entertaining opening period of play. The difference, the goal by Cogliano. Jackets get a power play goal. Anaheim gets a power play goal. After one period of play here at Nationwide, it's the Ducks 2, the Blue Jackets 1. Columbus Blue Jackets hockey on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by Huntington Bank. At Huntington, you can bank like a real fan. Get your Blue Jackets debit card at BlueJacketsBanking.com. By Ohio Health, the official healthcare provider of your Columbus Blue Jackets. And by 5-Hour Energy Shots, now with a new, improved taste. Jeff Rimmer, Jody Shelley, Dave Betzel rejoining you here at Nationwide Arena, set for second period play. 2-1 Anaheim lead, but prior to puck drop, how about the energy performers presented by IGS Energy?
Wow, speed of Cogliano off the defensive zone, face-off. Got the second goal for the Anaheim Ducks. So you got the first one, Ryan Kessler on the power play. And Scotty Hartnell, nice pass from Ryan Johansson. And he made no mistake putting it past Gibson.
Now, with 9 goals in the last 11 games. James Wisniewski, what do? Do I stay in the play, or do I...
There he is.
You want me to stay on?
I don't know. They just had 15 minutes with each other in the room. They could have sorted that out.
Good one by you.
But they'll get it straight.
Down to 2 and 1. Wisniewski steps up. Where will he go? He's racing off to the bench. And we watch his play continues in Blue Jackets territory. The trials and tribulations of James Wisniewski. Right here tonight on Fox Sports Ohio. How about that?
I love the animation in the box to try to figure out. Maybe took a little chuckle at himself.
Right side, Ryan Johansson. Thrown in front as he was hauled down. Gets back up, looks over at the official. Jackets. Boone Jenner had it knocked away by Cogliano. Wisniewski, by the way, went back to his home in Dublin and entertained a number of the Blue Jacket players last night for dinner. Had several of them over. Kind of an official goodbye. Here's Palmieri coming down the right wing. Shot sails wide off the stick of Kessler. From the left wing, Bobrovsky the stop. Rebound. Just trickles wide. After that initial stop, Jackets have got to clear the front of the net and not allow the opposition players in front there. Play whistle down, and Foligno steps in front of Kessler, who tried to have some words there for Bobrovsky.
Wow.
Now talking to the official here.
Well, look at this first shot by Kessler. Big shot, and then Sergei's got to regroup, find the puck. And the Anaheim Ducks spend no time stick handling or fooling around with that puck. They're just throwing it right in. Watch him here. He's ready, he's set. Little traffic in front. That's why he doesn't get the grip on that puck as it comes, but stays with that extra, that third rebound, you'll call it, on that sequence.
Top line out there for Anaheim. Jackets counter with the Anisimov line. Columbus called for icing.
After tonight's Blue Jackets game and every Blue Jackets game, Fox Sports Ohio breaks down the game. We talk to the players and Coach Todd Richards on Blue Jackets Live, presented by IGS Energy. IGS Energy, take control of your natural gas costs. Enroll at IGSenergy.com.
Foligno gets Getzlaf set for this faceoff deep in Columbus territory to the right of Bobrovsky. Getzlaf wins the draw. Stoner tosses to Maroon. Getzlaf trying to one-hand the Jackets defender. Great work by Foligno. There's a high stick there on Corey Perry. And he's looking over at the official, Tim Peel, saying, what about the high sticking call? None forthcoming. Jackets get away with one there. And offside the call.
Let's take a look at that high stick you're talking of. It's got Corey Perry's full attention. There it is in the battle. You see the reaction. Nick Foligno kind of looks around like, ooh. Checked his shoulder, see if he got away with one there. Checked to see if Corey Perry was all right. Corey Perry was not happy at all about that non-call.
Behind the net. That's Dupre, former Penguin. Up high. Jackets keep it in. Puck playing on the left wing. Anaheim march out. Wisniewski tosses on the left side. Here's a shot by Fleischmann that Bobrovsky gets a piece of. Hartnell coming in hard. On Sekot. Right side. Dano. Marco Dano at center. Across the blue line. Dano had it roll off his stick. Still, presence of mind to get the backhand ahead. Jackets pressured deep in Anaheim territory. Chopped out to center. Moved on that right wing. This is the defenseman Dupre moving in. Hangs on, shows patience, and then sends one wide of the net. Raquel unable to get a stick on it. Hartnell clearing the zone, looking for Jared Bull. Picked back up here by the Ducks and looking on that right side for Cogliano. Rink wide. That's Silverberg. Right-handed shot on the left side. Gets it ahead for Thompson across the goal mouth. Cogliano got a stick on it, I believe, but the puck was redirected out of play. Cogliano going hard to the net there.
Blue Jackets just standing around a little too much in this sequence. First of all, they backed up too much the time before. Look at the defenseman at the top of the screen. They're just standing there. Speed comes in. Little attempt looking for that second layer. And when you're flat-footed against a team like the Anaheim Ducks, tough to play defense against them.
Jackets look to the right wing. A lead pass there for Jared Bull. It would have been sprung free had he been able to play it. Jackets are called for icing, and back into Columbus territory they go.
And we'd like to congratulate CBJ season ticket holder Tim Pennington, who won an executive suite for a home game next season through the early renewal sweepstakes. Today's prize, season ticket delivery from a Blue Jackets player or coach. Renew your season tickets now at BlueJackets.com or by texting RENEW to 37664. You'll be entered to win.
Ducks, 18 shots. The Blue Jackets have but 10. Away from Lindholm, Beauchemin hustling back into his own end. Francois Beauchemin, a one-time Blue Jacket before being traded to Anaheim. Part of that Sergei Fedorov trade made several years ago. Bolshevik drilled by Bull. Throws it in front. Silverberg right wing. Cross ice there for Cogliano. Across the line, the long shot redirected off the goal stick there with Bobrovsky. Cogliano hustles to keep it in. Silverberg tied up. Getzlaf, perfect feed. Cogliano denied the stick save. Vatanen, right wing for Getzlaf. Both those players had a goal and an assist, along with Corey Perry. Oh, a great hit there. Dalton Prout all over Maroon, who is down. And now...
That was Bull. Jared Bull had a good
was it ever?
Look at Maroon and caught him with his head down, and then he kind of checked to see who was coming his way. Interesting there, right off the bench. Getzlaf and Perry went after Bull. Maroon thought he had a little more time and space than he actually did. Jared Bull had him lined up. Jared Bull is usually high on the point here. He sees Maroon looking one way. Maroon turns, and then Jared Bull steps in. You see Jared here. Catches him up high. And you can see Getzlaf there. Perry came right off the bench. And Bull with both of them.
Officials are huddling here right now. The two referees, Kimmerly and Peel. Downstairs, Getzlaf hovering around. Darren Gibbs was over there discussing with the two referees. Gibbs, of course, the linesman. And does not appear to be any penalties being called. And Getzlaf continues to point in the direction of where Bull hit Maroon.
Well, Getzlaf had a front row seat for that hit. He was just below Maroon as he took the hit. Patrick Maroon is up and he looks on to see what the verdict was.
I believe Maroon in that Ranger game took a puck to the face. And he appears to be all right here.
He's talking to Jared Bull now from the middle of the ice. He's got to get off now. He's getting off the ice because he was the reason for the whistle, or he was the player that stayed down, so he's got to get off there. He had words for Jared Bull the whole time.
We'll keep an eye on that. And
he's going to come back out.
Now that he's all right, he'll step back out and purposely skates by the Blue Jackets bench. Continues to jaw away. Dalton Prout stepping up. You see, Prout had something to say to Maroon.
Those are always fun interactions from your own bench. You got 16 guys, 15 guys standing there. The coaches, it's fun to get into a verbal altercation.
It's nice, though, to see Dalton Prout step up. He was on the ice. He saw what was going on over at the bench and made a point to go over Maroon, and I'm sure he had some things to say. Dalton Prout is really stepping up for the Jackets, now paired as a fixture there with Feder Tooten. Jackets send it wide. Johansson walking right in.
Boone Jenner.
Boone Jenner with a hit on Maroon, much to the delight of the crowd. And there's a slash back that goes undetected by the officials. And play called here on the offside.
Look at this play. Ryan Johansson. Boone Jenner with a play over to him right here. He's going to get it, feed it under the stick on the backhand, and Johansson just misses high. Watch Boone here. Boone's going to continue on behind the net. Here comes 38. Maroon comes in to confront him. He gets the worst of that hit.
Tough couple of minutes for Maroon.
He's got the Blue Jackets' full attention, I believe.
Yeah. No doubt. 5 minutes plus gone. Kessler finishing a check. Left wing. Artem Anisimov trying to chop it ahead. This is Palmieri across the line with Kessler trailing. Palmieri moves around the net. Jack Johnson not giving him much real estate to work. Savard winning that board battle against Kessler. Here it's off the wall and out. Off the glove on the Anaheim bench, so play whistle down.
Might have caught someone in the head there off the Anaheim bench. Blue Jackets just wanted to get that out of harm's way. Anaheim Ducks do a really good job on the forecheck, getting in there quick, anticipating, jumping, and the Blue Jackets are having a tough time kind of on their heels in the defensive zone. Looks like Jared Boll might square off here. Was it Stoner?
Yeah, former Wild, and yeah, here we go.
And Stoner's going to come to the attention. You see Getzlaf getting some words in from the bench. I don't know,
Stoner might have bitten off more than he can chew. A thundering right hand sending Stoner to the ice. Look.
Well, Stoner does a good job sticking up for his teammates. There's no doubt about it. Patrick Maroon takes a hit from Jared Boll. Someone had to step up, and Stoner's that man. He does a nice job of that. But Jared Boll, the veteran fighter, he knew what he was getting into here. Not much defense by Jared. He knows Stoner's not as experienced as he is in this part of this game. Now look at this uppercut. Just grazing that helmet, but effective enough to put Stoner down. And that was right in front of the Ducks bench. Good sequence there by Jared Boll from the hit to settling things down with that fight.
Icing the call. You really think that's going to settle things down? Lots of talk going on even as we continue here. This one far from over, Jody. 14 minutes, 23 seconds left in the second period.
It's barely even started.
Pretty entertaining, one goal a game here. Jackets have got to get back here and get some offensive zone time. Aside from the first few moments of the second period, much of this period has been played in the Jackets' end. Approaching the 6-minute mark, and we're there now is Foligno. Deep in the zone, tosses back to the point. Kept in. Goluboff tossing it behind the net, pressuring here. Jackets on the forecheck. It's tossed back behind by Vatanen. Dupre. On for Cogliano, can't clear. Letestu spins, turns, and Gibson forced to make a big stop there. Right wing, Silverberg squeezed out along the wall there by Foligno. Bobrovsky leaves it. Marco Dano, left wing, Carlson. Jersey number 20, the 18th Blue Jacket to make his Columbus debut. 18 players. Here, Hartnell walking in, kick save, rebound. And the Ducks able to make that stop. Outstanding initial stop there by goaltender John Gibson. And the Jackets pounce on the rebound, but unable to send it behind the Ducks goaltender. Outstanding stop there by Gibson.
And that was Marco Dano, who was following Hartnell to that net. Found that puck, just could not get through traffic.
Here now, Fedor Tutin. On to Carlson. Carlson across the line, overskates the puck and offside the call. As we go to break, Gibson tested here. His most difficult stop perhaps of the hockey game. Great effort by Hartnell.
Anaheim Ducks with the lead here in Columbus. Getting kind of emotional inside Nationwide Arena. Dalton Prout making a smart play at the blue line here. Watch 47. Puck's on its way to the line. He stops, gets up, keeps the play alive. And that's a quick little transition by the Blue Jackets to get in. That led to Hartnell's chance on net. Dano followed it up. The details of the game. Dalton Prout plays the big, heavy minutes down in front of the goaltender. But that's a smart offensive play. And light on his feet there to stop in transition and get up and keep that play alive.
Jenner across the line, takes the pass off the glove. Flashing the leather there was Gibson. He got enough to bat it away. Right wing, Corey Perry looking for Getzlaf. David Savard. Jenner. Johansson on the left side, Atkinson the right. Passes here, taking on his backhand with Ryan Johansson. Squeezed out along the wall there by Beauchemin in front. Atkinson, save, rebound, scores! We have not had word from the official who is there. Jenner lobbying. Where's the puck? The goaltender is across the line.
Well, the puck looks like it's got to be in the net.
I would think. Hold. He's pointing now. The one referee there, Kimberly, in a discussion will take place here right now.
Well, watch this play. Boone Jenner, big hit. Atkinson, quick shot. Ryan Johansson into the net. And Gibson might have spun all the way around with that puck underneath him. Let's take a look here.
The overhead, and the fans here saw it first. The overhead right here.
The overhead, it's up in the air. Watch 19. He comes in. You think it's got to be there somewhere.
Let's get a look now from the in-net camera here, Jody.
You can't tell there. You know it's somewhere there.
Well, nice visual. And I remember back to Minnesota a few years back, West Walls. Remember when that puck was tucked under his goal pants? And he had to be in the net with the puck. So it certainly appeared at the end as if the official, Greg Kimmerly, did in fact point to the net. But this one under review. And you can see very calm Todd Richards on the left. And Bruce Boudreau a little upset here right now as he watches.
Look at the puck there. It's underneath Gibson. It looks there like it's over the line. As Johansson does a great job trying to pounce on that puck and poke it through that mess. He could see that puck coming down. Gibson couldn't quite see it. But what a collection going into the net. There's the puck. Gets underneath Gibson's arm. His right arm now. And at the other view, you can see where the puck was underneath him. But from there, you cannot tell.
Now,
as Gibson spins around in there.
If there's an argument by Boudreau that Johansson was in the net, that puck crossed the line before Johansson ended up in the net. You saw that on that last replay. We get one more look at it here. Watch as Johansson follows up, maybe with a little push, a generous push from Anaheim. But the puck here will definitely, if we can see from the high overhead.
The puck underneath him there. Well, Johansson's, he's allowed to go in for that puck. There's the puck. Johansson sees it live. He's in there striking for it.
He's not preventing the goaltender from making a stop, and that's the rule. You've got to let the goaltender make the stop. He didn't make the stop as the puck trickled across the line. That, to me, is a good goal.
The rule on the ice, it says there is no goal, so they're trying to, it's got to be conclusive that the puck crossed the line. I think it's just tough to see if the puck was in or not, if it crossed the line. We haven't seen an angle. That one where the puck was underneath the arm of the goaltender. You could see daylight there. It looked like it was over the line, but can't see on the overhead view. Can't see on the...
Watch as the puck was going across the line, and watch as the official, the referee, Greg Kimmerly, is behind here. We get the high overhead here from the end zone, and that's Kimmerly right there, jersey number 18. He's watching. I thought he pointed right here prior. No, he's not pointing to the net.
He pointed to the penalty box.
Yeah, he pointed to the penalty box.
Let's go review.
So we'll wait for it as they continue to watch this one. A delay here.
This could be a long one. That was, usually if you can find an angle. But that one where there was daylight underneath Gibson, underneath that arm. And let's take a look at the camera that's in the goal. There's the puck underneath the blocker. As he spins around, there's number 19, Ryan Johansson, up close and personal. Gibson's not moving. He knows the camera's there. He knows where the puck is.
And it's his own weight that carries him into the net and across the goal line. There's no effort by
the
Jackets.
Freeze underneath. You can see where the puck is there. It looks...
Yeah, it's all on the white ice. I say good goal. And as Jody alluded to a few moments ago, it has to be conclusive in the video review to overrule the ruling on the ice. And they are certainly taking their time.
Players are starting to get off the bench and stretch the legs a little bit.
I give the officials downstairs and those in the Situation Room all the credit. They want to get the call right. And they are taking as much time as possible. The discussion continues. Kimberly no longer is on the phone to video review here and in Toronto.
After reviewing the play, the puck did cross the line. We have a good goal.
Thank you very much. Indeed, there was no other way to rule it. So, in Toronto, the Situation Room, they overruled the initial ruling of no goal, and rightfully. Gibson had every opportunity to make the stop. The momentum carried him in. Now we're getting word, despite what you saw on the screen of no goal call, they're now saying downstairs they never ruled off the goal. So, it's a good goal, and that's the bottom line. And a credit to everybody involved.
Yeah, and I liked how the referee, he didn't know where it was, so he just said, hey, let's wait and go review this. Let's get this right. That was one step in the procedure. They made the call, and we heard the cannon. So we're all tied up here at 2. Bruce Boudreau just got his explanation of the situation. Of course he's not happy. That was a bang-bang play. His goalie had gone run into a little bit, but Blue Jackets, good effort there by Ryan Johansson to crash the net.
So we've straightened it up. Here comes Palmieri. There's going to be a penalty there. Palmieri was hooked. And Anaheim will get their 4th power play.
Yeah, he got a step on Tootin to the outside. Good speed, Palmieri. Planted his skates and cut right towards the net. As he got that step on Tootin, Tootin had to put something on him, so he got his stick out there. Here's a look at it. Palmieri, good speed, and then he decides to turn those edges in towards the net. Tootin says, hey, I can't let him get in there on that free lane, so he gets his hands and his stick on his hands. Anaheim right to the power play after that goal by the Blue Jackets.
And for Ryan Johansson, that is goal number 24. He is now one back of Nick Foligno, his 2nd point of the night. Atkinson draws the lone assist. But the Ducks are on the power play for the 4th time. They are 1 for 3 with 6 shots. They send it wide of the net. A 2-2 tie. Ducks to a 2-0 lead. Midway through the opening period, Jackets get a power play goal late by Hartnell and the Johansson goal here at 7:55.
The net's off behind Bobrovsky.
And with the net dislodged, play is whistled down. The official just noticing that.
Yeah, he was yelling at the ref. Not that it mattered. Watch Ryan Johansson here. Number 19 comes in and lays the shoulder. That's Lindholm. Big physical play on the penalty kill by Ryan Johansson. Gets an ovation out of the crowd. And then Sergei dealing with the referee to say that I don't think he's been bumped a few too many times lately. And tonight we've seen it a couple times. And that just does not sit well with Sergei Bobrovsky.
Not at all, and nor should it.
No, you're right.
He has taken a little bit of exception here on more than one occasion. Wisniewski on to Corey Perry. Wisniewski in deep. Jack Johnson sends it to the corner. Getzlaf tries to get a stick on it. Artem Anisimov. Up high, Corey Perry. Perry thrown back to the point there by Maroon. In front, deflected. Corey Perry sent it high. Less than a minute left down the Tootin penalty, and the Jackets are able to rim it around and send it down. Picked up here by Getzlaf. Gibson gets back into position. A 2-2 tie as we approach the midway point of this 2nd period. 44 seconds remain on the power play. That's Vatanen moving in. Vatanen backhands one wide. Getzlaf tosses to the far side. Corey Perry now will step up. Right-handed shot, turns it over. Jackets come away. Atkinson trying to spring himself free there with a little poke check. Getzlaf taking a hit there from Dalton Prout.
Good speed there by Atkinson. I like the physical play of Dalton Prout on Getzlaf. Get under his skin a little bit.
Vatanen, Corey Perry. Perry sends it to the wall. Valesky in the slot. Jackets up but not out. On here for Getzlaff. Getzlaff moves in, deflected by Corey Perry, but sent wide. Out steps Tootin. Jackets kill it off. They allowed a power play goal on the first. Manpower advantage killed off 3 in a row. Bolesky backhands and scores. He roofs a backhand to beat Bobrovsky, and the Ducks are back in front.
Well, he finds a little area right in front of Bobrovsky. Little quiet zone. And he gets the pass here. And look, he makes no mistake. Top of the net. Corey Perry might have been the one to give him that puck. There's the pass across from Perry. And that is top shelf by Bolesky. That's when you have the weapon of Perry and Getzlaff. They don't need much time to make those little plays from down lower in front of the net. Bolesky worked to get open and then worked to get that puck over Bobrovsky.
Off the wall, chopped in. Jackets in pursuit. Goluboff holding off Silverberg. Away from Dano on that attempted pass. Beauchemin attempting to clear. Puck bouncing in the corner. Beauchemin sweeps it ahead for Cogliano. Silverberg now, right wing, out of the zone. Silverberg hands it right back to Dano. Carlson on here to Hartnell. Moving and scores! His second of the night. Jackets again come back to tie it up.
Well, great play there by number 20, William Karlsson. In the middle of the ice, finds Hartnell with speed, and Scotty Hartnell's got time to get set, get his head up, and fire that puck past Gibson. That's a one-on-one situation, and he gets everything on that. Gibson might have got a piece of it, but it was high enough on his shoulder to go off him and into the net. That's got to feel good for Scotty Hartnell. And how about Will Karlsson? First game as a Blue Jacket against his former team. Picks up a big assist to tie things up.
10th goal to lead all NHL players here in the month of March. 2 tonight and 32 seconds. How many times have we seen the opposition after the Jackets score a goal that the opposition come back? Bolesky scores, and then 32 seconds later, Scott Hartnell with his second of the night and 24th of the season. How many times has he been to your house for dinner, and what are you feeding him?
No, it's the chemistry. Dano made a big play on that goal. Got it to the kid, Karlsson, who's playing that spot for Wennberg. And Scotty knew what to do in that position. What a shot.
I talked to a season ticket holder earlier on today, and we talked about Scott Hartnell, and that's the leadership that we were talking about earlier on today. The Jackets come back, they tie up the hockey game, and then see Anaheim less than 3 minutes later come back and take the lead. Hartnell takes it upon himself to find the back of the net for his second of the night. And as I said, his 24th of the season, one back of Foligno. There's quite a goal-scoring race now, Jody.
Yeah, he's
between the three, Foligno, Johansson, and Hartnell, all separated by one goal, with Foligno leading. Jackets in front, the shot scores! And who scores but Nick Foligno? He doesn't want those guys to tie him up. And how about that? Foligno with his 26th, and the Jackets have their first lead of the night.
Whoa. That's got to feel good for Nick Foligno, but how about the play of Artem Anisimov below the goal line? He's so good on the puck. We say sneaky. He uses that big body. He knows he's got Morin in support, and Morin heads up play, finds Nick Foligno. Boy, I tell you what, nice shot by Nick. Not much room there. Head up, gets everything on it, and that's past Gibson. Nice play by that line. Both lines that just scored. The three forwards have done a nice job complementing each other.
The two goals a minute, 11 seconds apart. Hartnell ties it up. Foligno puts the Jackets in front. We will step aside. A wild, and I mean wild, second period. Goals, a fight. Jackets have one of their players contributing a two-goal performance. And Scotty Hartnell has a pair. Foligno puts the Jackets in front. You get a look there at referee Tim Peel in the video review coming from Toronto, Jody. At 7:41 of the second period on the Ducks Blue Jackets Four on ice officials huddled, determined the puck crossed the Anaheim goal line in a legal fashion. Video review was inconclusive in determining whether the puck completely crossed the goal line. Therefore, the on-ice decision stands. Good goal. Now, reading that means that on the ice, the officials conferred and came up with that ruling.
Yeah, well, there you go. And it's good to get to know what exactly was going on, because that was a long pause in play, and you wonder exactly what they're doing. So that explains it well for us.
There's Veknin with a shot, and Bobrovsky gets a piece of that one. Picked up here by David Savard. Backhanded on for Jack Johnson. Johnson knocked down. There was the Jackets forward, and play called, and Boone Jenner looking for a call here, at least lobbying with the official.
Well, as Boone went down there on the line, he fell down, and he kept the puck play alive by using his arm, but he didn't get that in there quick enough to keep that puck going over the line, and his line mates got over there. It was pretty close. Boone was not in agreement with this call. Here he goes down. He gets the arm out here to try to keep it going. Well, that was a close one.
Carlson picking up an assist on the Hartnell goal, his first point as a Blue Jacket. His previous NHL points, 2 goals and an assist, coming in his previous 18 games with his Anaheim Hockey Club. Less than 8 minutes to go here in a wild and woolly second period. Up along the left wing boards. It's moved by Feder Tutin. Bouncing puck away from Dano. Palmieri finishing a check. Kessler can't make the play. Dalton Prout will as he rims it around the wall. Bolesky waits on the right wing. Hartnell steps up. Hartnell breaks free. Hartnell moves in. And a stop there by Gibson. He is in his zone.
Yeah, good high shot by Hartnell. I like that decision. Get the puck on the net. Let's try to get extra fancy in that area.
Here comes Foligno now. Foligno off the goalpost.
Exact same spot as Hartnell. Different kind of shot. Nice little sequence there by the 2 leading goal scorers.
Play whistle down, 6:27 left in rapid fire. First Hartnell, then Foligno. Let's take a look.
Goalie's got a broken mass. That's why this whistle just took place. Here's Hartnell right below the dot, over the left shoulder of Gibson. Here's Foligno right below that same dot, over that shoulder again. Those guys could not hit that spot, and that is where that mask for the goaltender Gibson got clipped. And that's why the whistle went. Just as that puck zinged by high on him, it broke that. It looked like the plastic piece that sits in front around the, it's like a neck protector. There it is getting repaired. Let's take a look at it breaking.
Doug Shearer pretty quick on that. Better known as Sluggo by his friends. Longtime trainer, first with Washington, now with Anaheim. And there you got to look at it.
And that was the first high shot by Hartnell. Foligno then took one, and you can see Gibson having a conversation with the ref like, hey, I got to get this fixed. And as play got up to neutral ice, the referee blew that whistle.
6:27 left here in the second period. 2-1 Anaheim. After one period, Jackets having an outstanding second half to this period. And would it be fair to say that Jared Bull fight kind of gave the Jackets a little bit of life?
You know, that emotion that brought, it was that big hit just before. He addressed the situation. Stoner came over and addressed the situation, and Jared took that to another level. And I agree, that was something that really settled things down and brought that emotion to this game.
The fight took place at 5:32. Johansson scored at 7:55.
Wild second period here at Nationwide Arena, and the Anaheim Ducks come in here with some firepower, and the Blue Jackets did a nice job here. This is on the penalty kill. Getzlaf and Perry. There it is. These guys are dangerous to the puck. Getzlaf's on your right. Passing, picking apart their quick strike. Look at Getzlaf to Perry below the goal line. But watch here. The Blue Jackets are there to support. Get the puck and start heading up ice. Exactly what you need to do against that team. Get it and get it out of that dangerous area.
Anaheim wins the draw. Fleischmann on a deflection sends it wide of the net. This is Stoner, who is in that brief little battle there with Jared Bull. Right side, quick shot, save, and holding on. Off the stick of Sekash is Sergei Bobrovsky.
Good job by Sergei there. No rebound on the play. You see Anaheim almost every time they're in the offensive zone, that puck is going towards the net. Blue Jackets have done a nice job boxing out and taking care of those rebounds, but there Sergei does it himself. He's got snow all over his shoulder. He got sprayed at the end of that play as he stopped the puck. The Anaheim player came in and sprayed him with snow, trying to get under the skin of Sergei, but looks pretty calm there to me.
Kessler wins the draw. Stoner in front, trying to redirect it there. It was Vatanen who's in off the point. Played here by Carlson. He's picked up his first Blue Jacket point tonight, 4th of his NHL career. All 19 of his games, including tonight, have been played this season. Part of the James Wisniewski trade. And here, Palmieri sends it between the two Jackets defenders. Bobrovsky will send it around the boards. Scott Hartnell pressured there. Scott's had his share of 2-goal games for the season. Another one here tonight. Less than 5 minutes left. Shot, save, rebound. Jackets knock down Kessler, who hangs on to the stick of Dalton Prout. The crowd looking for a penalty to be called. And Prout taking exception, pushing Kessler out. From in front of the net, Palmieri denied. Up high, there's a shot. Scramble there. Bobrovsky watches, and then in the blue paint puts the glove on it as Bolesky and a second Anaheim forward is dropped. And that's Kessler, who grabs his face here.
The crowd's applauding for a couple reasons, probably because Prout finally got the best of Kessler there. Kessler picks himself up. Bobrovsky here on this save. Watch this. Down low in that position. This is where he cleans it up. But earlier, Kessler was in front of the net. And this is what got that crowd reaction. Dalton is in a good battle here. Watch when Kessler gets up. Keeps that stick right under his arm. Couldn't see it there, but it was a good battle with Dalton Prout and Ryan Kessler. That's saved by Bobrovsky on Palmieri. Wow. In tight, good reaction. Sergei's locked in.
Well, you were looking at that replay. Maroon came over and had some words with Prout. Prout's at the end of the shift. He just wisely declined and just skated by. Less than 4.5 left. Getzlaf deals a backhand pass to Jackets. Johansson able to pick off. Johansson trying to feed Boone Jenner. Jenner seems to have a little more of an edge here tonight than we saw in that first game.
Well, I thought he was thinking too much, and that's just a natural way to come back into the lineup.
Quick shot. Blocked there by Savard. That one hurt. Jackets move up ice. Atkinson onto Johansson. The trailer carries in. That's Boone Jenner. Jenner taken to the wall. Fights through and away from Wisniewski, but Anaheim control and the outlet pass. Corey Perry waits on that right wing. Perry had his pocket picked by Jared Bull. Bull takes a hit along the wall there from Maroon, and that's a makeup for earlier on. Bull, none the worse for wear, moves in. Savard for Jared Bull. And the shot was blocked. Corey Perry, a broken stick. They'll move it ahead for Getzlaf. Played there by Gibson. Now Dupre tosses it behind the net. Less than 3.5 minutes left. Dupre, right wing for Cogliano. Kevin Connauton at the line. Jackets control. Here comes Corey Trop. Trop across the line. Edged out along the boards. And it's played by the Ducks. Wisniewski up the right wing boards. Silverberg sends it ahead. Jackets. Letestu off the wall to center. Stepping up. This is Vatanen. Vatanen drilled along the wall there by Morin. Moving it, Silverberg. Around the Jackets defender. In front was Cogliano, but he couldn't pull the trigger. Less than 3 minutes left. Vatanen now. Vatanen the shot. Juggled and held. And now Thompson fencing. Trop will come in.
Thompson, he's a battler. He's in there in front, getting some attention. You mentioned Silverberg. Watch him here. Patience around the sliding defender, and then finding Cogliano. A great play by Corey Trop. Right here, great patience. Corey Trop is there to break up that play in front of the net. And you mentioned Silverberg early in the game, his skill set. Wow, that was an impressive play in the offensive zone.
Silverberg, originally the property and a high draft pick of the Ottawa Senators. He has found a home here in Anaheim. Stoner off the point. Here's Kevin Connaughton, 2:40 left. And a wild second period. Jackets 4, Anaheim 3. You joined us late. Columbus trailing 2-0. Just past the midway point of the first period. Jackets got one late. First of 2 for Hartnell on the power play. But the second period, primarily after the initial start with play in Jackets territory, has been played in Anaheim's end. And Foligno sees that puck just roll off his stick.
That was a high pass by Anisimov. Tried to get it over the defenseman's stick of the Ducks. It just stayed in the air too long. Foligno couldn't knock it down.
Long shot in front of Anisimov. And Vatanen got enough to deflect it wide, but he turns it over. Marco Dano set up behind the net, and Anisimov lurking in the high slot. Now to the hash mark. Dano to the point here for Dalton Prout. Prout on to Fedor Tyutin. Tyutin looking for Anisimov, purposely sending it off the wall. Artem Anisimov walking out of the corner. Up high, that's Tyutin, and he can't control it. Jackets fire it back in. This will be an icing call with 1:34 left.
Tough sequence there. Blue Jackets had full control in the offensive zone. Puck comes to the blue line, rolls out, and then in the neutral zone they end up icing it. That's that last sequence. It went off Vatanen in front of the net. You see him go down there, catches the end of his skate. But good opportunity there, just off a good little shot on net. And Columbus is going to call a timeout here after that icing. A lot of offensive zone time by this unit. But late in the shift, they get that icing infraction. Todd's going to play this right. Being up a goal late in the second period. He saw Anaheim put out Getzlaf, Perry. They're top shooters on that team. So regroup, have a little meeting, let the guys rest up. Ready to make some good decisions in the defensive zone off this faceoff.
Right now on FoxSportsOhio.com, how a change of scenery can be beneficial to both the player and a team. A closer look at the Blue Jackets' resiliency down the stretch and in this period, and what made Cavs star LeBron James have a serious case of the Mondays. Get complete coverage of all of today's action involving Ohio sports, brought to you by 1-800-SAFEAUTO.com.
Well-timed timeout. Todd Richards watching. He's got to be happy, Jody, with what he sees from his hockey club here in the second half of the second period.
Well, he's probably not. I mean, it's the process he always talks about. But, yeah, he's got to be thrilled at the way they've responded here.
Marco Dano knocks it down. Meantime, behind the play, we've got a fight going here. Again, Dalton Prout was challenged earlier on here just a few minutes ago by Maroon. It was the end of the shift. This time he's more obliging.
Yeah, Maroon's a big, strong boy, but I don't know if he's been in as many fights as Dalton Prout. Dalton's just getting set here. Maroon's throwing those little jabs, which can keep you off, kind of offset. Dalton here, he's working the body over, trying to get loose, really, as Maroon's got a good grip on him. This was right off the face-off in the defensive zone after the timeout. The refs are letting him go here.
A lot of body punches right now. And Prout connecting with the right hand. Maroon basically holding on here. He bit off a little more than he can chew.
Watch how this started, right off the face-off. Now, Todd Richards had called the timeout off the icing. And these guys had words. Here they get locked up a little bit. You can see what they say. A little whisper in the ear of Dalton Prout. So Dalton and Patrick Maroon. No harm there. Got to be tired at the end of that one. A lot of wrestling, grabbing, struggling. Dalton active with the body blows.
Isn't timing everything? Because, as I said, he tried to goad him into that fight earlier on the previous shift. And Prout at the end of the shift says, okay, I'll remember that. We'll get here and we'll go, but on my terms.
Well, yeah, on your terms is the right phrase. You don't go when you're, you don't need to oblige a fight at the end of a shift. It's just not smart.
Save made by Gibson. David Savard, no look pass here for Jack Johnson. A little more than a minute left. Tripped up there was Boone Jenner. No call. And now less than a minute to go here in the second period. Johansson unable to make the play. Getzlaf backhands on for Corey Perry. Perry from deep in Jackets territory. Bolesky Bolesky, who's played on this line previously, another penalty upcoming. And play whistle down. An elbowing call here will give Anaheim their 5th power play.
And it was in the near side corner to the left of Sergei Bobrovsky. Corey Perry immediately grabbed his head after he got a hit. David Savard isn't agreeing that it was such a high hit. We'll take a look at it here. Crowd also not agreeing with the call. There you see, it's more of a forearm shiver.
Officials are conferring here.
Hey, 2 minutes for roughing. Number 10 for Anaheim. 2 minutes for embellishment.
How about that?
They got it right. Look at the look on this guy's face. He cannot believe it. Well, watch the embellishment here. David Savard completely misses the hit. That arm comes up. We'll take another look at this. Watch Corey Perry here. He did take one right off the nose, but
again,
involved with that call a little bit.
Again, great to see the officials huddling there and wanting to make the right call. They huddled, and then the decision was made on that second penalty.
Yeah, because, you know, when you have plays in that end, one official's in the corner, one's in the neutral zone. So they got different vantage points of every situation.
Puck thrown. Wisniewski looking to get it to Palmieri. Jackets break it up. Here comes Foligno. Wisniewski trying to get back in the play. And Letestu unable to make the play as the puck was flipped from Foligno to Letestu. Final seconds ticking off. And James Wisniewski almost victimized there. The Jackets are overcommitted at that goal line. Here comes Foligno again. Final, down to 1, and that will do it. The end of a wild and woolly second period for Anaheim. 15 shots, a 2-period total of 27. For the Blue Jackets, 14, a 2-period total of 22. After 40 minutes of play, this one 4-3 Columbus. Columbus Blue Jackets hockey on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by Roush Honda. The best way to say Honda is Roush Honda. And by Ticketmaster. Score. Get the only NHL tickets sold by fans, verified by Ticketmaster. It's all hockey, no hassle right now at NHL.com/ticket exchange. All but set for third period play. What a night for Scott Hartnell again. Another 2-goal performance for the Jackets. One at even strength and one on the power play. And speaking of the power play, Jody, how about the AEP power play summary?
Yeah, well, the Blue Jackets started this game. Too many penalty kills. Just too much time in the box. And you can see both teams have cashed in. They've got to stay out of that penalty box. Anaheim with 6 shots. They've been busy. But that man right there, as you mentioned, a heck of a night so far.
Nick Foligno adding to his team-leading goal total with number 26 on the season. Ryan Johansson, a goal and an assist. But the big story tonight is Scotty Hartnell. Now with 10 goals in the month of March to lead the entire National Hockey League in goals in the month for March. And I don't believe you, Jody, when you say you didn't feed this guy, you didn't give him any tips.
He doesn't stop by.
Well, he should.
Yeah, maybe we'll. Oh, I better not interrupt anything he's doing. We'll just leave him alone for March.
Whatever he's doing it well.
He sure is.
And he should continue to do so. You read the papers in Philadelphia, and boy, do they miss Scotty Hartnell there. 1:15 remaining in the coincidental minors. Savard for elbowing and embellishment. The penalty assessed after a little bit of a huddle amongst the officials. Corey Perry sitting out the embellishment penalty. So 4-on-4 hockey. Jackets lead 4-3. And Anisimov blocking that attempted shot there by Lindholm. And it's back in Anaheim territory. Lindholm jumping up in the play. Lindholm in deep. Out comes Bobrovsky, and alertly so. Along the wall, Bolesky tosses it behind the net. Picked up there by Fedor Tutin. Tootin reversing, stepping up. The attempted shot by Dupre. Blocked. Getzlaf. Bolesky kick saved by Bobrovsky.
Wow, he had to reach with that right pad to make sure he caught that one. Play was going one way, and it was kind of a broken shot. Good job of Sergei to stay with it.
Up along the far boards, Fedor Tootin. Tootin now. Dishes on the right side for Cam Atkinson. Pressure there by Cogliano, who has a goal of his own here tonight. Down the left wing, Golobuff at center. He'll backhand one in, wide of the net. Move quickly up the left wing boards. Out step Savard and Corey Perry. Team's back at full strength. Here's James Wisniewski. Into the zone, Wisniewski. Pressured there. Fights it off, and it's Carlson, the guy that he was traded for.
Good battle there.
Stoner.
Opposing 20s, right?
Absolutely.
Both were 20.
Good hit here by Gatto and Corey Perry. Vatanen breaks his stick on the shot from the point. Hustles off to the bench. He'll pick up a new piece of lumber. Deep in the zone. Played by Vatanen as we approach the 2-minute mark. Stoner now. One-time member of the Minnesota Wild. Fleischmann, the former Florida Panther, looking for a lead pass there that fails. Sekac unable to get a stick on it. There, Dano chops a backhand to Savard at center. He sends one in, and play called as it was knocked down with a high stick.
And we're creeping closer and closer to baseball. Thursday afternoon, the Reds in action in the Cactus League against the Indians in Goodyear, Arizona. Catch all of the action with Tom Brenneman and Chris Welsh at 4 o'clock right here on the home of the Reds, Fox Sports Ohio.
Anisimov, boy, he's had a nice night too. Clever on the puck. He's so crafty at getting there and stealing the puck. We saw him on that goal, that Foligno goal. Nice work below the goal line.
Shot right on. Gibson's got it with traffic in front. He will hang on. And let's check out the PNC game summary.
And there you go. And the shot attempts is highlighted. And not a lot of attempts by the Blue Jackets. And boy, they've made the most of their opportunities. Anaheim Ducks, those shot attempts keep going up. Teams trying to get those up around 80. That's the number that they shoot for. That's block shots, missed shots, and shots on net all combined.
David Savard around here for Foligno, backhanding a pass. Morning. Laid by Lindholm. Steps to center. Better than 2.5 minutes gone in the third. In comes Palmieri. Trying to walk around the defenseman Savard. And a poke check there by Bobrovsky. Kessler will open the scoring early in the first period on a power play. Former Buckeye. Boy, he's got to be happy playing for a team that's certainly destined, Jody, to be one of the premier teams in the Western Conference in the upcoming playoffs.
Well, yeah, we saw him in Anaheim. And he had an ear-to-ear smile about being a part of that locker room in that area, Southern California, with the likes of Getzlaf, Perry, and what they were building there. So I think he settled in nicely there.
On the right wing, Getzlaf in front. Up high, play called. And there's going to be a penalty here as Corey Perry took a high stick, we believe.
Immediately went down in front of Bobrovsky and grabbed his face area. You can see Connaughton. There's that stick. It's right up. That's a few times tonight that Perry has caught. I think once in each period. There it is, right under the visor. Connaughton with just an errant stick.
4 minutes. Oh, excuse me, just 2. Just a 2-minute minor penalty. We're high sticking. Now up on the board. 3:33 at the time. So, Anaheim 1 for 4 with 6 shots. We're on the power play for the 5th time. Lindholm right side. Save Bobrovsky. Puck sails over the stick. Now the Anaheim player, Raquel. Right side, Raquel squeezed out by 2 Jackets. Palmieri is there, so too is Ryan Kessler. Jackets win the battle. Boone Jenner, and he sends it the length of the ice.
That's Boone Jenner. That heavy stick. He gets in there, sticks his nose right in the battle, makes sure he gets the puck and gets the job done.
Boschman for Kessler, right wing. Jack Johnson sends it the length of the ice. It's played there by Gibson. 1:15 left in the Connaughton penalty. Still serving the remaining time in their fighting major. Dalton, Prout, and Maroon. Goluboff tries to get a stick on it. A minute left on the power play. Corey Perry, none the worse for wear. Back for Getzlaf, fires, save Bobrovsky, and he hangs on to the rebound.
Getzlaf there is playing the point. He winds up with the big wind-up, as though he's going to take a slap shot. Then he stops halfway through. Watch him here. Wind up, adjusts, tries to fool Bobrovsky, but no flinching on Sergei. Doesn't bite. Stays with that shot the whole way and makes a routine save on that shot from the point. Now Getzlaf, who was on the point, is going to take the face-off here with Wisniewski. Is that Lindholm on the other side?
Either that or Vatanen.
Yeah, Vatanen's on the right side here.
Here's Wisniewski, floats one in. Bobrovsky sees it through the traffic. Corey Perry setting the screen, and Bobrovsky making the stop there.
I don't know how he saw that. Big Corey Perry standing in front of him, but James Wisniewski, he's made an art of this, and it's not the big booming shot that we've known Wisniewski to have. It's that little wrist shot. Changes the angle. See the feet moving, head up. And he's done that very well while he's been in Columbus. Get those pucks through on net. Sergei there to make that save behind Corey Perry.
Well, we'd be remiss if we didn't point out the fact that Wisniewski does have a couple of assists tonight in his return here to Columbus. Puck thrown up high. That's Corey Perry. Can't make the play. 5 minutes plus gone here now in the third period. Less than 30 remaining in the Connaughton penalty. Jody, the Jackets cannot continue to give Anaheim these power play chances.
No, you said that was one of the keys of the night, and that Western Canadian road trip. They did too much time on the penalty kills we mentioned.
Corey Perry sends it wide. Bolesky hustles after it. Final seconds tick off. There's Wisniewski. Connaughton standing at the penalty bench. Down to 2 and 1. He will step out. Jackets back at full strength. Getzlaf moving in. Wisniewski, and he drilled it wide, and that is upended as he fired the puck. Getzlaf. Again, the Jackets at full strength. Getzlaf hangs on it. Tried to send it towards the net. Deflected wide. Vatanen not able to keep it in.
Well, the Blue Jackets too much time on the penalty kill, Jeff. A lot of pressure on Sergei and those units that are out there trying to kill it, especially against these guys. Getzlaf, Perry, Wisniewski. Lots of movement, lots of tough angle shots and saves by these guys.
Well, the Blue Jackets in a stretch of the final 3 games this week against Western Conference opposition. They'll close out their Western Conference portion of their schedule here. And we started off in Chicago after tonight. Friday night, our coverage begins at 8 o'clock. Opening face-off at 8:30 right here on Fox Sports Ohio. And then the Jackets conclude their Western Conference schedule Saturday in St. Louis against Ken Hitchcock's Blues. You think they'll be looking to avenge that loss here 7-1, Jody?
I would say probably still remember that one.
Well, I don't think there was any question that they took the Jackets a little bit too lightly, and the Jackets were on that night. They were going to Chicago, where the Jackets are headed. We're the Blues, and they might
have overlooked the Jackets.
I think that is correct. But things will change on Saturday night, but the Jackets can't look ahead. They've got Chicago Friday.
That's right.
Here, moving in, the shot sails high and wide, approaching the 7-minute mark. Backhanded by Cogliano. Dancing here, this is Silverberg. Silverberg into the high slot. Silverberg, the shot off the blocker. Now tossed behind the net. Silverberg is there. Anaheim, some territorial play here. Fleischmann off the bench. Fleischmann circling the net. Puck gets away from Boschman. Played up high. Raquel. Now moving in. Carlson is there trying to fish it free for the Blue Jackets. Savard pressuring. Holds off 2. Now the Anaheim Ducks and the Jackets control. Savard paired with Jack Johnson, who makes the clearing pass, and it's deep into Anaheim territory.
I like that play there by or you call him Bill Carlson. Good help in the defensive zone. He's the centerman there, playing that low position. He was in great support of David Savard.
Zone cleared, and it's Stoner hustling back. Icing against the Jackets. All rights to this broadcast are reserved, and any rebroadcast, recording, retransmission, telecommunication to the public, or other unauthorized use of the broadcast without the express written consent of the Columbus Blue Jackets is expressly prohibited.
Now, we mentioned the 4 lines have to be effective tonight, and these guys, Jared Bull, Corey Trop, Mark Letestu, you can really feel their presence, Jeff. The fight by Bull, the hits by Trop, and Letestu with some nice little plays defensively and offensively.
No doubt your Toyota keys tonight bang on, and now the Jackets have got to show that they can play a disciplined hockey game here for the final less than 12 minutes of regulation.
They have to be careful not to sit back. We've seen a few shifts here to start this period in the defensive zone for the Jackets. They've got to get on their toes and keep attacking this Anaheim team.
Connaughton in a foot race here. Kessler coming quickly. Connaughton using that speed onto Goluboff. Tossed up the far boards in front of the Jackets bench. Artem Anisimov almost deposited on the Anaheim bench. Down that right wing. Palmieri. Oh! Anisimov comes back with a good hit of his own.
Good to see that by Anisimov. Took a number there and followed through on the extension of his hit.
Left wing, offside. Jackets argue here, but Jeremy Morin to no avail. We'll see the offside call, and we will step aside. Shelley Dave Metzel back here at Nationwide Arena. Outstanding hockey game here. A little bit of everything, and now the Big Lots big play. Jody.
And this one went to a long review. Ryan Johansson sees the puck in the air, crashes the net, gets his stick in there, right there. You can see him here.
After reviewing the play, the puck did cross the line. We have a good goal.
And that goal at 7:55 at even strength. Johansson's 24th. Less than 3 minutes later, Anaheim regained the lead, only to see Scott Hartnell tie it up 32 seconds later, and then a little more than a minute after that, Nick Foligno put the Jackets ahead, and that's where we are. The goal, number 26 for him, came in 11:48, approaching the midway point here of period number 3. No scoring here in the third period. It's a 4-3 hockey game. Crowd certainly in this one, an electric atmosphere tonight. They've enjoyed a little bit of everything, Jody.
Yeah, it's been a lot of emotion in this game, especially in the second period, when the Blue Jackets started really throwing their weight around, fighting. And this period so far has been a lot of the Blue Jackets have really been on their heels, but they seem to be in control here.
I'll certainly say that. There's been a lot of emotion in the building tonight.
Yes, there sure has. It's been a fun one.
Here, Jack Johnson sends it up the right wing boards. Deep down. Anaheim looking to move up. Cogliano dumps it in. There's a hard hit along the wall. Puck play, Boschman. On to Lindholm. High slot. Shot. Bobrovsky never saw it, but it sailed wide.
Well, he was in the right position.
Now Cogliano denied. That one went off the pad of Bobrovsky. Raquel unable to make a play. Ooh. Thundering hit there on Carlson. He fights it off. Lindholm tosses a backhand, unable to keep it in the offensive zone. Ducks dump it deep. Raquel in pursuit. Goluboff trying to hold him up. Cogliano in front. Oh, Bobrovsky. He's lost his mask after a collision there, but he makes the stop. Bobrovsky with yet another big stop there, and watches the mask comes off as we go to break. The goaltenders, they have both been busy tonight. You see Sergei the busier of the two, and time for tonight's Ohio Health Great Save.
Well, it's Sergei Bobrovsky here. He's got a little traffic. That's Bolesky. But Bolesky, as he turns, he finds that puck. And Sergei's got to stay with it, extend that pad, keep that puck out of the net. He's been sharp. He's been busy. Bumped. Just got his helmet knocked off. What's he got to do?
There, Puck played by Anisimov. Deep in the zone now. Stoner taking it from Kessler. On the turnover, here's Jeremy Morin. On to Foligno. Foligno to Tootin. Traffic in front. Gibson is down and he covers up.
Nice tip in front by Morin there. And Sergei Bobrovsky this morning, pregame skate, he's out there just trying to loosen up. And he takes a shot up high in the neck. Second shot of the day, he said. It's right on his left side of his neck. See it right there? Oh! No thanks, Jeff. I'm not going to be a goaltender anytime soon. Pre-game skate. Jared Bull said, yeah, that was me that did that. Apologize, Sergei. Sergei said, oh, that's okay, Jared.
Yesterday was the day off, and the Jackets had a little fun in practice. And Jared Bull said he scored 3 shootout goals in that one.
Oh, nice.
Sergei said he didn't know if he really scored 3.
Truth comes out.
A little camaraderie amongst the boys. I think what Jared Bull will try to do is in a future shootout, the Jackets have had their share of theirs, and victories, I might add. I think Jared's lobbying for a chance to maybe get a shot in a shootout. In front, Bobrovsky. Here from the point, Bobrovsky. Oh, yeah, I got it. Flashing the leather, and he holds on.
Sergei there nodding with his defenders. Look at Sergei here. Lots of traffic. That's a high shot. Broken play. But watch the Blue Jackets stay with this as this puck goes from low to high. They do a great job. Sergei's got this last shot. This is that broken play again. But the Blue Jackets do a good job of keeping the players out from in front of Sergei. He sees that the whole way, just like playing catch.
From the faceoff, Golubov looking for Connaughton behind the net. Silverberg pressures. Jackets along the wall. Trop was tied up. Long shot there. Sails wide. A little more than 8 minutes left now in regulation. Raquel dancing. Looks for open ice. Sends it ahead. Silverberg. Goal mouth pass. Oh, did Bobrovsky make a great lateral move there to make yet another outstanding stop.
Wow, what a save by Sergei Bobrovsky. That left pad out of nowhere.
That's the save of the night.
You want to redo it?
I was just going to say, we were a little early there. Ohio Health, great save. I don't think there's any better than that one tonight here at Nationwide. Outstanding lateral move. Now lead pass there for Bolesky, who had the shots previously on Bobrovsky we showed you a few minutes ago. There's Hartnell dumping it in deep. 2-goal night for him. Carlson on the wing, getting a chance to play on this line with Dano. And of course Hartnell, Bolesky left wing, slips and falls, is able to steer it into the corner. Tootin tying up. Cogliano rimmed around the boards. Hartnell waits in front of the Columbus bench. Away from Vatanen. Stoner gloves it ahead. And play whistle down. Well, if we've already picked our Ohio Health great save, here's an honorable mention.
No question. Look at Sergei here. I don't know how he picks it on the left side. He's all locked up on that side, on the right side. And somehow, look at this. He sees it go across. Wow. And he gets the glove over there. Follows that play across and just absolutely robs the shooter with that save.
Jody, we've said it many times before. The best part of Bobrovsky is his athletic ability, and there was a pretty good illustration of just that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much time you spend working on that play. You know he does a little, but that's total reactionary play right there. Sees the pass go across, and just all effort, too. Think of that second. We talk about second effort all over the ice. That is a second effort play by Sergei Bobrovsky.
A little more than 7 minutes left. Collision there. Stoner a little slow getting up. Boone Jenner with a thundering hit in the corner. Stoner's all right. Stays in the play. Atkinson tried to knock it away from Perry. Johansson down the left wing out of the zone. Trying to feed ahead for Atkinson, who now pressures. Right side. Ducks walk out of their own zone. Jackets. Atkinson on to Johansson across the line. Vatanen defending. Pokes it free. And then chopped ahead by Maroon. Here's Jeremy Morin. We talk about the return of Boone Jenner, but nice to see Morin back and healthy, too.
Great point. He's excited to be back. He calls it a total body injury. He had irregular heartbeats there, and that was a scary situation for a while, but he's thrilled to be back. You know, he's got a physical edge to his game, and fits in very well with this lineup.
Fans start chanting CBJ, trying to encourage the Jackets here in just a terrific effort and a great hockey game. Less than 6 minutes left. Jackets, Foligno trying to fight through that check. Valesky. James Wisniewski rifles it wide of the net, takes a wicked bounce off the end boards. Palmieri steps into the Jackets defender. Here is Foligno. Bull goes to the net. Foligno fights off the hit there of Lindholm. Gets it in front. And Letestu rips it wide. Mark Letestu now back up high on that backhand for Golubov. Purposely sent wide. Jackets can't get to it. Silverberg takes a hit there from Corey Trout. All Trout's done tonight is just throw checks at those white jerseys.
Yeah, he's used his speed to close that time and space and get in and throw his frame around.
Lindholm down the right wing. This is Raquel in across the line. And the puck rolls off his stick as Connaughton stepped up on him. Jackets Trop trying to split the defense. Does! Walks in and denied!
What a play by Corey Trop.
I'll tell you what. He was never more correct when he said, I only score highlight reel goals. And that one, too, would have been a highlight reel.
No question.
Gotta love him.
Off the toe of Gibson there. He kind of fanned on the shot. Oh, what a move. Right-handed shot coming down. Good speed, good awareness. What's he going to do? The defenseman's wondering, well, here's what I'm going to do. Little how's she going? Through the legs. And then watch here. He gets the shot off. Not a lot on it, but almost fools Gibson. He's got to make a last-ditch effort save with that toe. Wow.
Carlson wins the defensive zone draw, and the Jackets chip it off the boards. Oshima. Chopped high over top of the net. Here's Getzlaf to center. Away from Hartnell, who tried to put the stick on him. Savard holds off Getzlaf. This is Carlson. Left wing feed for Hartnell, who will dump it in wide of the net. Jackets will keep their shift short here. Final 4 minutes and 3 seconds. Good play, Jenner! And he threw it across the goal mouth.
Yeah, good pursuit by Jenner, and that great idea. He had Gibson looking behind him, but job by Boone Jenner.
3:55 left.
Wide Arena, Dave Metzel with Jeff Rimmer and Jody Shelley. Hey, tonight on Fox Sports Live, 7 other NHL games in action, and the race for the President's Trophy is on. The Ducks are certainly in that race. Can the Rangers win their first in over 20 years? Jay and Dan will bring you the highlights from across the league tonight on Fox Sports Live. Go to foxsports1.com and find Fox Sports 1 in your area, guys.
Well, there's Boone Jenner. Jody, you talked about maybe his body language not being what you expect to see from Boone Jenner, but we are seeing that here tonight. He's the Boone Jenner of old, and you know what? A little apprehensive coming back from a serious injury. First game back, maybe some nerves. Tonight, a different Boone Jenner.
Well, I think you come back, you're thinking about the system. You don't want to mess things up. You want to be effective, and sometimes you think too much.
Great point.
Has got that game where it's heavy. He's on the puck. There's no hesitation. In this league, that little bit of hesitation takes away your own time and space. Well, he's been effective tonight all night long.
Super point here. Wisniewski shows some patience there. Fires a shot. Scramble. Loose puck played by the Jackets after the initial stop. And it's the aforementioned Boone Jenner dancing through neutral territory. Less than 3.5 left. Off the wall. Puck's in ahead. Jenner to center. Fights through. Wisniewski unable to handle it. And it's Vatanen. Right wing feed. Shovel deep into Jackets territory. Race for the puck. Palmieri, and oh my. Palmieri taking a thundering hit. He's back up. Far side. Jackets send it up and out. That's Lindholm. Less than 3 minutes left. Palmieri throws one into the slot. Jackets with a little caretaking. Valesky back in his own zone, looks for the pass, takes it at center ice, steps away there from Dano. Valesky, top of the circle, shot blocked. Savard not giving up much real estate. Palmieri can't get to it. Jackets do, and away goes Anisimov. 3-on-2. Anisimov across the line. Anisimov in the corner. Oh, boy. Nick Foligno takes a hit there. Far side. Clearing pass by Ryan Kessler. Cogliano chops ahead. Tootin holding him up briefly. Dalton Prout. On for Marco Dano. Up high. James Wisniewski throws it ahead. Raquel. On for Cogliano, looking to walk out. Up high, this is Wisniewski. James Wisniewski. Right side, Vatanen. Behind the net, Jackets looking and thinking that, or Jacket fans at least, and the fans on the players on the bench, thinking it was a high stick and play should have been called. Jackets get it out to neutral territory. 1:45 left. Onto that right wing, and play is called.
Good job by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the defensive zone. Here come the Ducks. Well, look at all the Blue Jackets back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see them all on your screen right there. Pucks on one side. They support nicely. And Anisimov in front, calmly and confidently carries that puck out. Frustrating style to play against right now for the Ducks, who really are pushing, obviously, with under 2 minutes left to play in this third period.
1:43 to be exact. We'll keep an eye on Gibson and see if Coach Boudreau will attempt to get him off the bench and out for a sixth attacker. Boudreau again far from pleased from his club's performance against the Rangers Sunday night. Jody, that in the words of the coach of Anaheim, with great practice yesterday, and tonight the Jackets have come up with just a superb effort, and Boudreau does not take losing lightly here with his team, in his opinion, one of the best in the West.
Well, they don't lose very often.
Gibson is out. 6 skaters on. Sent in front off a skate. Played there by Johansson. And it's out to center. Wisniewski back at his own end. He'll take it back from Vatanen. Off the stick of Getzlaf. Jackets send it back out. A little more than a minute left. Up the middle. Played by Maroon. Looking and leading Corey Perry there, but too far. Less than a minute to go. Wisniewski saves it at the line. Tosses it into the corner. Kessler can't contain. Now, Hartnell into the near side. Wisniewski steps up. Jackets play it. Atkinson able to clear. In pursuit, Hartnell. 2 goals on the night. Tries to steer it towards the empty net. Wraparound scores! A hat trick! And that will ice it for the Jackets. Out come the Hats onto the ice. For Hartnell, his 8th career hat trick. And the Blue Jackets lead 5-3.
And did he want that one? Goodhart strides all the way in, took that puck, wrapped it around, and then a little salute to the hometown fans. Thank you very much. Very Yager-esque there at the end. Well, look at the effort by Scott Hartnell. Empty net, stays with it. Watch him here. Little salute. Thank you very much. And there's the smile. The Blue Jacket fans have not seen the Foligno-Bobrovsky hug in quite some time, Jeff. But they're on their way to it here. Last hat trick.
His 8th of his National Hockey League career, and a bit of a delay here as they collect the hats. And it's been a while since we've seen a hat trick here on home ice.
Well, the crowd that showed up here tonight, I'll tell you what, did they ever appreciate this effort by the Blue Jackets? Anaheim got out with the quick goal, but the Blue Jackets have battled back, and Scott Hartnell with a hat trick. A lot of big smiles down there on the bench. These guys seem like they've been having a good time all night long, these Columbus Blue Jackets.
Tell you what, the fans have enjoyed it too. They've seen a little bit of everything.
Exactly.
Blue Jackets came into tonight's game having dropped 6 of their last 7 at home. They wanted to come back from the Western Canadian sweep and win one, in the words of Nick Foligno, for the hometown faithful, and they do just that. With 37 seconds left, they lead by 2. Atkinson will pick up the lone assist. Hartnell now with 25 goals on the year.
I just told him, Foligno, I'm coming for you.
Lino with 26. He needed that one to keep pace. Ryan Johansson with a goal. And how about this? Another goal for Johansson, which he most definitely will get. The Jackets will have 325 goals scored. When's the last time that happened?
Yeah, I don't know. But
final seconds tick off. Ripped wide of the net. The Blue Jackets will hand the Ducks, after winning 4 in a row, their second consecutive defeat. Here's Bolesky towards the net. Sails wide. Palmieri into the slot. Jackets hold it off, down to 1, and there it is. The horn to signal a Blue Jackets home ice victory. Scott Hartnell the hat trick. Sergei Bobrovsky stopping 36 of 39 shots.
he battled. Sergei was bumped into. His helmet got knocked off. He made some timely saves on some dangerous players out there. But he's getting a little extra attention from every guy. Great effort by all these guys tonight. Columbus Blue Jackets right down the lineup. And I'm telling you what, they look like, it's so great to see them having a good time down there. All game long.
Change on the last goal. Credit Savard with the assist. And there's the hug that we are waiting for. The Blue Jackets, 5th straight win against the West. Maybe, Jody, they were wrong. We should have stayed in the Western Conference.